in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Few thunderstorms on the way. Some could be severe, and a high of 81 this afternoon.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Big goings on in the city this weekend. Bud Billiken Parade. Nobody likes the Bud Billiken Parade more than Jelly Belly. Jelly Belly and his protege, Christian Mitchell, at the Bud Billiken Parade, providing this authentic enthusiasm.
I've been coming to the Bud Billiken Parade for as long as I can remember. Every year, it's a privilege to march down King Drive and celebrate everything that makes our community so special. Our history, our pride, and most importantly, how much we love our kids.
Marching in the Bud is one of my absolute favorite summer traditions. It's a chance to celebrate Chicago's rich Black history and, of course, the bright future of our young people and what they represent. Here's to 97 years of parading and excellence and many more to come.
Happy Bud!
Yeah. It's great. Hey, how many parades, Governor, how many of the Bud Billiken parades did you go to before you were governor? Because I know it's your like one of your favorite activities. He just oozes so many things. And as I said, authenticity, clearly the top of that list. I don't know. Who do you think is more enthusiastic about the places and the activities they love? Jelly Belly Pritzker or Anderson Cooper? Gloria Vanderbilt's kid, remember? Since Haiti's back in the news with TPS status being removed and enforcement and removal operations underway, and some, including even Republicans, Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio, decrying this development. Remember Anderson Cooper talking about how much he loved Haiti? Jerry Rivers just said sending people back to Haiti is like sending them to hell. Whoa. What? It's paradise, according to what everybody was saying when Trump was referring to some of these developing countries in less than generous terms. Not inaccurate terms, just less than generous. Do you think J.B. Pritzker enjoys the Bud Billiken Parade as much as Anderson Cooper loves vacationing? You know, it probably has a pied-à-terre in Port-au-Prince. He loves going there on the weekends.
And I mean, Haiti is so, it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But it's, a country can be poor economically and rich in culture and rich in the strength of the people and rich in so many different ways. And Haiti is in that way among the richest of countries I've ever been to. I mean, the Haitian people are incredibly strong, carry themselves with such dignity, and for generations, have had governments which have not paid attention to them, which have stolen from them, and yet whatever adversity they have faced, they face it head on. And as I said, when you meet them, Haitians look you in the eye, they slap your hand hard when you shake it, and I think you're going to have an unforgettable experience. I've gone back a lot, obviously. We were the first team on the ground after the earthquake, and I go back on vacation. I go there for weekends. I mean, it's an amazing place. It's an incredible place.
Vacationing in Haiti, sure. I believe that. Anderson Cooper, weekends in Haiti. Goes down to see an off-Broadway rendition of Hamilton that they'll put on. This is not a commentary on the Haitian people, but the infantilization of black people, the using them of mascots, whether they're Americans or Central Americans. That's what's done here. That's what J.B. Pritzker's doing. That's what Anderson Cooper is doing. It's disgusting. Oh, really? The Haitians have had a government that hasn't served them well? Well, whose fault is that? Chicagoans have had a government that hasn't served them well? Well, whose fault is that? Chicago has a public school system that doesn't serve them well? Well, whose fault is that? How are things going for all those kids that were at the Bud Billiken parade? I'm sure so happy to have Jelly Belly there to pat them on the heads, tell them how much he cares. Celebrate. Getting back to school, getting back to CPS, where what happens? Spare me. So there's that, and then there's big news on the warm embrace of collectivism front. Gimme Dat bus lines will soon be up and running to make sure that we can import women who want to have abortions in Illinois, one of our big industries. And nobody's a bigger fan of that than little Billy Conway, little billionaire baby boy Billy Conway. He has big mayoral aspirations. When is he getting in?
Hi, folks. I'm Alderman Bill Conway at the 34th Ward. We're going to be having a community meeting on Thursday, August 20th at 6 p.m. at the Chicago School. That's located at 400 South Jefferson. What are we going to be talking about? The city's acquisition of the Greyhound Station. That's located 630 West Harrison. The Greyhound Station is a vital part of Chicago's transportation system. It serves about 500,000 riders a year and is a vital access point for those coming to Chicago for reproductive health care. I share the community's concerns regarding public safety, regarding traffic, and regarding the operations of this station. That's why I've convened the Chicago Department of Transportation, Streets and Sanitation, and the Chicago Police Department, and they're going to explain to us how the station's going to run better under city ownership. We're going to hear from departments on August 20th at 6 p.m.
Oh, mark your calendars.
City-owned bus terminal, even better for the community and for riders alike. Please register at the link in my bio. Look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, and you'll laugh and laugh and laugh at the PowerPoint they'll present explaining how the city is going to run the bus station better, because the city runs everything better than the private sector, doesn't it? It's great. Looking forward to bussing people in so they can get abortions. What an odd thing to say. What a ghoulish thing to say. Little Billy Conway. Trying to be all grown up. Mark Glennon is the founder of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org. All things Illinois policy related. Mark, thanks for joining us, as always.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, we get a laugh out of this stuff, but this is what gets votes in the on the Democratic side with these, in these primaries, and that's why I continue to think that Pritzker has as good a shot at the presidential nomination, at least from the Democrats, as anybody. And he's pretty good at this, and loves talking about these things, and people buy it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's also a flim-flammer. He's a shapeshifter, and the DSA crowd is going to, they've sussed him out already. There's no way he's going to be their guy, not to mention the fact that he is not, he's a Zionist, and I don't say that as a pejorative. He supports Israel. He does. He's not going to say it, but he does, and he's not going to call Israel an apartheid state, which you have to do to be a member of the DSA party these days. So he's got all kinds of problems. In addition to the obvious.
Yeah.
But so let's, using little Billy Conway and talking about the mayor's race. Is there anything you're seeing as the field is starting to populate now? Any ideas or proposals that are encouraging to you?
No, nothing in terms of concrete proposals. I do have some hope that we'll at least start to get an intelligent debate about Chicago's finances coming out of it. By the time the election rolls around, especially, things will be worse than they are now, because they inevitably will be. And I think Susana Mendoza might be one who would speak about these things with some level of candor. She at least understands the problems. She's going to want to distinguish herself from the rest of the crowd. And Maria Pappas, kind of the same thing. She's conversant in these things. She understands the business world. I'm not endorsing these people. I got complaints about all of them, but we at least might get a serious conversation going for once in this campaign.
Yeah. There's a lot of fodder. Just this week, this is a rather interesting commentary. It's a new one. Mayor BLM Brandon's administration can't get anybody interested in collecting the $90 million in debts that the city is owed. It's debt collection firms. This would seem like a plum deal. You get a percentage of what you collect on behalf of the city for outstanding tickets and so on and so forth. And nobody wants to bid on the job. I mean, you can't even find Rocco and Moose to help people find their wallets.
Boy, what a idea fraught with problems. It's not unusual to sell off packages of bad debts, but you can measure the default rates on some of these. It's got to be close to zero, however, with these tickets. And you're stepping into the shoes of the government on these claims that are subject to defenses. This idea was doomed from the start. And if the city can't collect these, no private collector is going to think they can figure out some way to do it more efficiently. Shame on the city for not having the capacity to collect these things on their own and coming up with such a foolish idea to try to sell them off.
Well, they could have at least gone out to market to see if there was any interest before they made what they expect to receive from outsourcing debt collection part of the way they're going to, quote unquote, phony baloney balance the budget. But, what constitutes balancing the budget in Chicago. So they built this into the budget, and then they can't get anybody who actually wants to do the work.
Frankly, I had not been aware that they built those proceeds into the budget, and that's just another element of what a sham that budget is. And it's not with those kinds of things. It's not a real budget. They haven't fulfilled their statutory duty to present a budget, a balanced budget, and nothing's going to be done about it. Of course, with the AG that we have.
Well, why should anybody start now? I mean, as you and I both know, and we talk about to no particular end. And when you don't budget for pension obligations, then it's not a real budget. So Pritzker runs around touting balanced budgets every year he's been governor. Not a single year. We haven't had a balanced budget in the state or the city for as far as I can remember, a real one.
And he gets away with it. I get so sick of seeing the press say when they report these things that the state has made its required payments to the pensions. No, whenever you see that, you have to remember they're just paying according to the schedule that the legislature made up. It has nothing to do with actuarial reality or what's supposed to be done.
And speaking of the pensions, this is a fun development. Bally's has stopped construction on its much anticipated casino and casino development. And this was something that was supposed to help fill the city pension debt. The casino was supposed to send $200 million a year to prop up city pension funds. That's what this is really about, of course. The Bally's is calling foul on the city for violating the terms of their deal because they are greenlighting video poker.
Yeah, they probably got a valid complaint about that. I haven't looked through the contract and exactly to determine what it says, how much leeway the city has, but you get cannibalized if there's too many gambling sites in the city. Bally's is well aware of that, and it's a condition to their project and how much they think they can make from it. So they got to be having second thoughts about trying to deal with the city of Chicago with so many issues here. This is going to be an ongoing problem. These sites will continue to cannibalize them, and it's not going to turn out well, I think, for the gambling industry or for the city, and the revenue's not going to materialize.
Well, and Bally's has some other considerations. Apparently, the company is carrying nearly $5 billion in debt. This, according to its latest financial report, an amount which, quote, may have important negative consequences. Yeah, in the real world for Bally's, it might. In the in the fictional world of, well, specifically Illinois and Chicago politics, it's just nothing to see here.
Yeah, it's a world of difference when it comes to private sector reporting. They have to do it, and as a publicly traded company in the city, there's double standards left and right between what the private sector can do and what the public sector can do on disclosures, and honesty with the people you're dealing with is just non-existent for the state government here and the city government.
Well, that's, I guess you can always resuscitate one of those wealth taxes that's being bandied about in places like New York, or the land seizures, or, I don't know where else we're going to go. You don't really hear anything from these supposedly more moderate DSA candidates in the field, like John Kelly or Ali G, even Mendoza at this point. I mean, a little bit on public safety side of it, but nobody's talking. They're talking generally about making the city attractive, but so does Brandon Johnson, bigger, better, stronger, whatever his rap is. Nobody's talking specifically about what to do to make the numbers make sense for people to locate and expand here. I haven't heard it.
No, there's not a word of serious discussion about seriously addressing these issues, and instead we get, we just posted the umpteenth article from Ralph Martier saying how shortchanged the public schools are, Chicago public schools. He's talking about in the Sun-Times editorial, because they haven't complied with the supposed evidence-based funding formula that the state laid down by statute. Well, Ralph Martier was the primary author of that. They made it up to over-obligate the state's contributions. It's commitments that never could be made, requiring billions more be shoveled into the school districts, and that's their excuse. So they come back and say, well, you haven't contributed adequate amounts based on this statutory formula. It was created for just this purpose, so that you can go back to the public and claim that the schools are being shortchanged. It has to be his 10th article on that subject.
Mark Glennon, founder of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Dan.
Annie, join us in the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
You've worked hard for everything you have, your home, your investments, your real estate. When you're gone, someone has to manage it. Choosing the right trustee or executor is one of the most important decisions you'll make.
We kept putting it off. We figured our oldest would handle everything.
Then we thought, what if something happens to him?
Or what if the kids can't agree? We've seen money tear families apart.
We called Home State Bank, and I wish we'd done it sooner. Home State Bank serves as trustee or executor for families across Northern Illinois, stepping in as the professional, impartial manager of your estate so your family doesn't have to carry that burden. They don't take sides, and they'll carry out your wishes exactly as you intended. Take the first step today by calling 815-459-2000 to meet with a trust officer face-to-face. Again, that's 815-459-2000. Home State Bank. Hometown professionals working together to build a stronger community since 1915.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk a little border security. Mentioned enforcement removal operations against those whose TPS protections have been rescinded by the president. Also, 175,000 visas revoked by the State Department so far in Trump 2.0. Lots to talk about on the immigration and enforcement front. We'll do so with Brian Longerin at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIN.
Do Wisconsin Democrats want a socialist governor? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. They are deciding that at the polls today, with Francesca Hong the primary frontrunner.
She has run on the platform of higher minimum wage, higher taxes for rich people, universal health care, and a one-year moratorium on new data centers. She has flip-flopped on tweets calling to defund or abolish police and criticizing Thanksgiving. She called those bad takes.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Milwaukee. The winning Democrat will face Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany in the governor's race in November. There are also progressives on the ballot in primaries today in Connecticut, Minnesota, and Vermont, and Fox's Zebin Brown reports.
4 of Alabama's 7 congressional districts hold primary elections today for parties to pick nominees for November's congressional elections. These are primaries for the districts affected by the U.S. Supreme Court ruling allowing the state to rely on congressional district maps drafted in 2023. Newer maps were ruled unsuitable.
There's also a special Republican primary in South Carolina to replace late Senator Lindsey Graham as the GOP nominee in November. President Trump could be taken to court over an executive order some doctors and medical experts do not support, reducing the number of recommended childhood vaccines from 18 to 11, COVID no longer among them. And speaking of COVID, ex-presidential advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci is under more scrutiny over his recommending the vaccine.
There have been no red flags of anything that anyone would be worried about.
That's what Fauci told CBS in 2021 during the pandemic, weeks after writing in private text messages made public that he had concerns about the second dose of the COVID vaccine causing inflammation that could cause pregnant women to have miscarriages. Republican Senator Roger Marshall tells Fox he wants a special counsel.
They have subpoena power. They can have an independent investigation, and then they can prosecute as well.
A GOP-led Senate committee held Fauci in contempt of Congress for refusing to answer COVID questions. The doctor's lawyer called that a political stunt, saying Fauci has saved lives. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
75 degrees, gray skies, and a severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 2 p.m. today. Some of those thunderstorms are expected to bring some flash flooding, damaging winds, and severe storms could also bring some flooding rain. The National Weather Service also confirmed 2 EF1 tornadoes did touch down Sunday night in LaSalle County near Streeter and Ransom, Illinois, where a freight train also appears to have been knocked over by the suspected tornado. 2 are dead following a shooting on